Beneath the blinding lights of Times Square and the echoing footsteps in subway tunnels, New York City is quietly preparing for a transformation unlike anything in its history. What if I told you that by the year 2030, the very heartbeat of the city, the way we live, move, work, and even breathe, will be forever altered by forces already set in motion? Some of these changes are monumental public projects. Others are invisible technological currents and cultural shifts creeping in like fog over the East River. But together, they will redefine what it means to live in the greatest city on Earth. You're not just watching a video. You're peeking into the future of a living, breathing organism called New York. But before we start, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're pulling back the curtain, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Now let's dive in. One of the most transformative infrastructure projects for New York City by 2030 is the anticipated completion of the Gateway program, specifically the new Hudson River Tunnel and the rehabilitation of the existing one. This $16 billion mega project will double train capacity under the Hudson River, improving connections between New Jersey and Penn Station. Currently, the existing tunnel, built over 110 years ago, handles over 200,000 passengers daily, but it's deteriorating due to age and damage from Hurricane Sandy. Its replacement and upgrade will drastically reduce delays, which currently affect over 2,000 trains annually. By 2030, with both tunnels operational, Amtrak and NJ Transit expect to improve travel reliability, add peak hour service, and allow for major growth in regional commuting. This will ease congestion in Midtown, reduce car dependence, and boost economic activity by improving labor access across the New York-New Jersey metropolitan area. It's a foundational shift in regional mobility. By 2026, New York City is set to become the first U.S. city to implement congestion pricing, charging most drivers a fee to enter Manhattan below 60th Street during peak hours. This policy is designed to reduce traffic, cut emissions, and fund mass transit improvements. The MTA projects $1 billion annually in revenue from the plan, which will support $15 billion in capital upgrades for subways and buses. Traffic in the central business district is expected to decrease by up to 20%, according to the environmental assessment released by the MTA. This would lead to faster bus speeds, cleaner air, and a more pedestrian-friendly urban environment. Critics argue it may burden low-income drivers, but exemptions and discounts are planned for certain groups. Over time, congestion pricing could redefine how New Yorkers move around the city, prioritizing public transit, biking, and walking over private vehicle use, and helping achieve NYC's climate goals. In response to Hurricane Sandy and increasing climate threats, New York City is investing billions in coastal resilience. Projects like the East Side Coastal Resiliency Project and Staten Island's seawall are designed to shield neighborhoods from rising sea levels and future storm surges. The ESCR alone is a $1.45 billion initiative that includes flood walls, levees, and green infrastructure stretching from East 25th Street to Montgomery Street. Once completed by 2026, over 100,000 residents will benefit from better flood protection. Staten Island's 5.3-mile seawall project, costing $1.6 billion, will be finished by 2028, defending vulnerable communities from the Atlantic Ocean. These projects will physically alter New York's coastline while offering long-term security to infrastructure, housing, and transit systems. As sea levels are projected to rise 8 to 30 inches by 2050, these investments are crucial. They will ensure that New York remains livable and insurable in the face of intensifying climate events. Penn Station, the busiest transportation hub in the Western Hemisphere, is undergoing a long-awaited transformation that will redefine the Midtown core by 2030. The station handles over 600,000 commuters daily, yet its facilities have long been outdated, cramped, and confusing. Governor Hochul's $7 billion redevelopment plan includes expanded underground concourses, more natural light, higher ceilings, and easier navigation. Alongside that, 10 new skyscrapers are proposed in the surrounding district to generate tax revenue and fund transit upgrades. A major goal is to integrate Penn with the new Moynihan Train Hall and prepare for future Amtrak and NJ transit capacity from the Gateway project. By 2030, this station could serve over 750,000 daily riders with better efficiency, accessibility, and amenities. This project will also catalyze office and residential growth in the area, enhancing Midtown's appeal and supporting New York's post-COVID recovery as a global business hub. The pandemic-era shift to remote and hybrid work models is expected to permanently alter New York City's commercial real estate landscape. As of 2024, Manhattan office occupancy hovers around 50–60% of pre-pandemic levels, with companies downsizing or redesigning their spaces. By 2030, many older office buildings, especially those in the Financial District and Midtown East, could be converted into residential units under city and state adaptive reuse incentives. The city estimates that up to 20,000 new housing units could be created this way by the end of the decade. This shift may relieve the city's housing shortage while revitalizing underutilized business districts. Commercial corridors will also evolve, focusing more on hospitality, wellness, and mixed-use design to attract workers and residents alike. In the long term, this transformation will lead to a more balanced, livable city where central neighborhoods serve multiple functions beyond the traditional 9-to-5 office rhythm. We're now halfway through this journey into the New York of 2030, and by now, you're probably seeing the skyline in a whole new light. But here's where you come in. Which of these events do you think will have the biggest impact? Do you agree with the city's direction, or do you see things playing out differently? I want to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below with your predictions, ideas, or even the next city you'd like us to explore. Maybe it's London, Tokyo, or your own hometown. And hey, if you're enjoying this deep dive into NYC's future, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who still thinks the city never changes. Spoiler alert, it does, and fast. The long-delayed 2nd Avenue subway is finally progressing toward its second phase, which will extend the line from 96th Street to 125th Street in Harlem. This $7.7 billion project, funded in part by federal infrastructure dollars, will add 3 new stations at 106th, 116th, and 125th Streets, bringing much-needed transit access to East Harlem, a historically underserved neighborhood. By 2030, this extension will serve an estimated 300,000 daily riders, reducing overcrowding on the Lexington Avenue line and cutting commute times by up to 20 minutes for many residents. The project is also expected to spur economic development and investment in East Harlem, where over 28% of residents live below the poverty line. With modern, accessible stations and reduced travel times, the subway expansion will help address transit equity, enhance mobility, and support affordable housing developments in northern Manhattan, making the city's transit system more inclusive and future-ready. New York City's commitment to achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2050 is driving major policy and infrastructure shifts that will take hold well before 2030. Local Law 97, enacted in 2019, requires most large buildings to cut emissions by 40% by 2030 and imposes steep fines for non-compliance. With buildings accounting for about 70% of NYC's emissions, this law is spurring a wave of retrofitting, including better insulation, electrification, and renewable energy installations. In parallel, large-scale renewable energy projects like the Champlain-Hudson Power Express, a transmission line bringing hydropower from Quebec to NYC, will start delivering clean electricity by 2026, providing 20% of the city's demand. These initiatives are expected to cut greenhouse gas emissions by over 3.9 million metric tons annually. By 2030, New Yorkers will live in a cleaner, healthier city with greener buildings, better air quality, and a stronger local green economy that supports thousands of new jobs. New York City faces an urgent housing crisis, with rents hitting record highs and vacancy rates below 1.5% for affordable units. In response, Mayor Eric Adams's administration is ramping up the Housing New York plan, aiming to create or preserve 500,000 affordable homes by 2030, Key strategies include zoning reform to allow higher density development, office to residential conversions, and streamlining approvals for new construction. Already, new incentives for developers and a proposed citywide rezoning could unlock tens of thousands of new units in areas like Gowanus, Astoria, and the Bronx. By 2030, these changes could significantly increase housing supply, especially for low- and middle-income families. Additionally, mixed-income and transit-oriented developments will improve neighborhood access to jobs, schools, and services. If successful, this initiative could redefine New York's housing landscape, reducing homelessness, stabilizing rents, and ensuring the city remains accessible to a diverse population of workers, artists, and immigrants. Micromobility is rapidly reshaping New York City's transportation system. Since the introduction of city bike and scooter pilot programs, bike lane mileage has grown to over 1,500 miles citywide. By 2030, NYC plans to complete the Green Wave initiative, which will add protected bike lanes, pedestrian plazas, and car-free zones throughout the city. The Open Streets program, originally launched during COVID-19, is being expanded permanently in neighborhoods like Jackson Heights, Flatbush, and Washington Heights. These changes prioritize safety, reduce emissions, and promote active transportation. Currently, over 1 million New Yorkers use bikes and scooters regularly, a number expected to grow by 30–40% by the end of the decade. As younger generations increasingly avoid car ownership, NYC will see a cultural shift towards sustainable, equitable urban mobility. Streets once dominated by cars will become social and commercial spaces, supporting local businesses and public health while advancing Vision Zero goals to eliminate traffic deaths. Artificial intelligence is poised to revolutionize how New York City operates and delivers services by 2030. Already, AI is being piloted in areas like traffic signal optimization, energy use forecasting, and predictive policing. The city's Office of Technology and Innovation is working on guidelines for responsible AI use in public services, and by 2030, residents could interact with intelligent virtual assistants for everything from permit applications to school enrollment. Smart traffic management systems may cut congestion by 15–20%, and AI-enhanced energy grids will reduce outages and inefficiencies. Public safety will benefit through real-time gunshot detection, camera analytics, and emergency response coordination. However, the city must navigate ethical concerns around surveillance and bias. If implemented thoughtfully, AI could make New York more efficient, responsive, and inclusive, redefining how government interacts with its 8.5 million residents. New York City has always been a place where dreams are built and broken, where change is not just expected, it's demanded. But what's coming by 2030 isn't just change, it's metamorphosis. From the tunnels beneath the Hudson to the rooftops powered by clean energy, from streets reclaimed by people to towers reshaped by AI, the city is becoming something radically new. The question is, will we be ready for it? If this glimpse into tomorrow opened your eyes, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you're always a step ahead of what's next. Because the future isn't waiting. It's already on the 6 train, headed uptown. See you in the next one.